drywall installation is done, and we wanted to show you the insulation install, but somebody didn't bring the footage.
Well, there was this guy that said you told him to tell me we didn't need it.
And yet, here we are. I guess we'll just go straight to the drywall taping.
Yeah. About that.
Let me guess. Some guy told you we didn't need it. Anyway, after taping, dotting the screws, and topping over the tape, you'll need to sand it all smooth. Using a mesh screen on a pole works best. For your skim coat and your top coat, you'll want to use a pre-mixed topping compound or general purpose compound. Make sure you mix it completely before using it to get all the bubbles out of it. This can be done by hand each time you add to your pan. Or if you're going to use a whole 5-gallon bucket, you can just use a mixer and mix the bucket all at once. We're going to show you the easiest way to get a smooth finish with it so you can apply it pretty liberally to the surface.
This is a 6-foot level. If you don't have a foot long enough to span the area that you're trying to do, and you want to do it quick, use a level and tape it off with either masking tape or painter's tape. Get kind of close to the wall, and that will level out the ceiling to a certain degree without having to work too hard at it. Now, on spans more than 6 foot, you will need to do it a couple of times to make the reach, but it's going to be a whole lot quicker and a whole lot easier than trying to do it with a 12-inch knife. And then just scrape it off, and then you can reuse the mud that you pull off the level. If you have a span longer than 6 foot, you're going to want to do one side and then the other. You're going to want plenty of pressure on it, at least on edges. And then this is going to give you the bulk of your float. We're going to do that a couple of times in this area, since it's longer than a 6 foot area. You're just trying to get enough of the mud as far distance as you can with a somewhat even coat. I mean, you are going to make adjustments with the coat, but you'll have a bulk of the work already done for you. But we're only going to worry about one coat at a time. As long as that dries, that'll give us a nice base coat.
Keep in mind that you won't have a flat surface on your first pass, so you'll need to make at least a second pass and do any touch-ups where there might still be some inconsistencies. The reason for using a topping compound or a general purpose compound is that it's going to be a lot lighter and it's going to be a lot softer once it dries, which makes it so much easier for being able to sand it smooth just to get the wild hairs out of the way. And in some cases, if you're good enough, you can actually smooth it out with a wet sponge once it's dried. It'll give you the same finish as if you were to do a light sanding. On surfaces like bare drywall or fresh drywall mud, you're going to want to use a PVA primer as opposed to a stain blocking primer, just for the fact that the PVA primer is going to soak into the bare material better, where regular stain blocking primer is only going to fuse to the surface. 2 coats should be plenty to be able to have a base for whatever paint you're going to end up using. And to save you some grief, you're really going to want to take the masking tape off the walls while the paint is still slightly wet. If you don't, there's going to be a layer of paint on the tape, and so when you start taking the tape off, it may start peeling the paint along the edges as well. Regardless if it's a remodel or if it's a repair job, you always want to keep a couple of things in mind. Always leave a project better than when it started, and always make it look like nothing ever happened. Bubba, I think you and me have to have a conversation as to who this guy is.
He didn't seem very special in any way, just a normal guy. Only reason I figured you guys knew each other was because he was wearing a mask.